Board games, board games, it's what we're talking about. Board games, board games, I'm not gonna shout. I am going to quickly thank Sade, who is here and rarely late. And thank you, Eric, for following. And now I'll resume singing about Nikita, who is today's guest. Again, I'm not going to say they're the best, but Nikita definitely ranks up there. Nikita over there giving us a stare or a chuckle. I don't know what's going on. Nikita seems to be laughing at this song, and Nikita's now chuckling a bit more. Maybe because this song is rather poor. Nikita has made 3 games so far. The designing bug has caught her very hard, and we're going to be talking about crafting too. Tell me in the comments, is crafting something that you do? But generally, we're talking about board games and crafting. It's what we're talking about. Board games and crafting. I'm not going to shout. Hello and good morning, everyone. And I am Bez. You can take a bath if you want. There's no obligation to take a bath, but bath time is whenever you want it to be. I am blethering about board games, and you are listening to me today with Nikita Sullivan. And I have your thing there, so I don't know why I asked about the games thing. Do you want to just share what Attican means?
Oh yeah, so Attican is Nikita backwards.
Yes. And hello, Eric. It is lovely to see you on Facebook and on Twitch, apparently. And Rita, lovely to see you too. I hope that you're having a good. I can't remember. Where are you based? But I hope that you're having a good morning, afternoon, evening, night, whatever time it is. And so, yeah, Nikita, I basically know you like from Twitter, and like there's all these people are like, hey, check out these lovely UK people, and I hear about you and I check out your Kickstarter, and it's there's so much cool stuff going on. But I got in touch with you because I was like, yeah, I want to get to know more folk. I want to have more UK people on because it should be a good time for people in the UK. But why did you come onto this show?
I came onto the show because you asked me very nicely.
Hey.
And again, so I know you more from Twitter and stuff like that, and then started watching your shows, and I really enjoy them. And yes, I was laughing along to you singing, and it's because I really enjoy it. I really enjoy the little singing, and then it's really weird that it's about me suddenly.
And a quick hello to Tally. It is lovely to have you in the comments.
Hi, Tally.
And so we've got now 3 Germans watching. And yeah, Munich for Rita and Edinburgh for Eric. And yeah, it's Leipzig. I don't know where you are. If it's morning, I asked you on because I wanted to have more UK people on. No, I was talking about Rita when I said I don't know where you are. I was talking about Rita. I was saying hello to Rita, just for the confusion. And hello, Dutch. It is lovely to have you. Hello, Yoda. So, Nikita, what would you like to say about yourself if someone was to like, who is Nikita? I guess Nikita's like a human. You've got 2 eyes. You seem to have like a working face. You seem to have like long, dark hair. You seem to be wearing some sort of white sweater. But let's tell people something that they can't see.
Okay. Now that I'm on the spot, I also like stripes, so it's a stripey. Yeah, I like designing things. I've kind of always enjoyed making things from scratch, and like I was, you know, Chris Winterburn, don't you? I was on Brains Behind
Yes.
Games, and I
And
was.
hello, Chris Winterburn, who's watching right now.
Oh, hi. Now I'm blushing. Yeah, so when talking to him about like my hobbies and stuff, I realized everything I like is like trying to make something from scratch, because I like growing things in the garden or cooking and making, and just anything that I can take something and transform it into something else makes me really happy.
Oh, so it's all about that feeling of ownership, and in having something, it doesn't matter how many people are playing it or how much it's out there in the world. It's just having this physical thing and be like, yeah, you made it.
Yeah, obviously the more people who have it and play it, the better and lovely. But that if people, I was about to say if people didn't like it, I'd still make it. But I think if people didn't like it, I'd still try and make things and try and make them better, obviously. But yeah, it's more of a love of making things. And then when people are playing them and enjoying them afterwards, obviously that's a second dose of endorphins for me when they say they enjoy it.
Yeah, and it's like this kind of sense of crafting, both the physical nature. So today we're going to talk about like crafting in a traditional sense, maybe doing like crafts, like arts and crafts, like knitting and putting things physically together, but also about physically crafting a board game, which is quite an exciting thing. But also, I guess we could, if we need to, draw parallels between crafting an object that we create with love for one person, or creating that crafted experience for many individuals that we say, okay, this is something that hopefully people in the world will enjoy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Okay, great. So I'm not stretching too far then.
No, not at all.
Tally in the comments says they are terrible at crafting things, preferring to bake or cook. And lots of love to Xate, who admits that her hands don't really work correctly. Yeah. But let's get on with the show, and let's, of course, talk about recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights, recent highlights, playing games and other delights, recent highlights. What have you been enjoying recently as I try and hypnotize everyone?
Actually, a really brilliant thing happened the other day that I really love. I'm working. So distracted by that. So I'm doing a board game accessory for Make 100 next month, and it's all about being able to play in your own color.
I like this. So it's like a battle of playing in different colors, right?
Well, it's like you get a little mint tin like you got in Mini Memory Mischief, but it's got like a pawn and a cylinder and meeples and dice all in your favorite color. So that if someone pulls out a game that doesn't have your color, you can go, well, I'm still playing as my color. But I've had a couple of people say, well, what about colorblind people? And it made me realize that what I want to be able to do, because if you're colorblind and you have trouble, I'll go with the green-red colorblind, because I have a friend who's green-red colorblind, so I kind of get that. If you've got like a red meeple on a green map, they might find it quite hard to distinguish. Or move someone else's meeple because they're not quite sure the different colors. You could put stickers on all of your meeples, so you can say you're player 1 instead of player red, or whatever, and have like stars or hearts or number 1s or whatever. But obviously you wouldn't want to do that to your board games, because it's a lot of work. You've got to do it on every single board game. But also if you're like playing someone else's board game, you don't want to put stickers on their stuff. So if you had your little board game survival kit with stickers already on all the pieces, then you can use that with any game. So that's my reason highlight. I really, really love that kind of came together as a way of helping people, as well as just being a fun, silly accessory.
So it's not, just to get this right, it's not a game that you're working on. It's like a set of kits of the common pieces, like meeples or little sticks or whatever, but with patterns, and whether those patterns are in the form of text and stickers, but something that you can see even if you're completely achromatic vision.
Yeah, so the standard one won't have anything like that, because I think I want to do that for people who will struggle. So if someone tells me they do struggle, I will send them the stickers with the kit for free. But I'm not going to do that for absolutely everyone. So, but it will be just in my story that if you struggle, let me know, and I will send you some stars or hearts or stickers that you can put on them and just hopefully help. But yeah.
I agree with Eric. And Eric says it would also help in schools for kids with autism.
Yeah.
So maybe, I don't know if do you know Eric de Croo?
I don't know.
So Eric is a Scottish, Scottish person. I think calls himself like the crazy French. Anyway, so Eric paints things and does a lot of work with education in Scotland, and lots of love to Eric. It's lovely to have you watching. Other people, what are other people saying? Eric says, creating something with your own hands, it's really rewarding and great for your self-confidence and mental health. Sate says her recent highlight was yelling, "Hi, Chris!" and then having Chris come to Twitch instead of Facebook. Because Sate has been yelling, "Hi, Chris! Chris, hey, Chris!" And apparently, Sate might be a time traveler. So I guess we will find out. Yoda's recent highlight was getting a dice bag with Yoda's logo on it. That sounds pretty cool.
That's cool.
Tally has a job offer. Congratulations.
Nice.
Are you able to share what it is, what you're doing? Alex is just coming in and popping in, and it's lovely to see you, Alex. Oh, thank you, Eric. And yeah, people want to hear about Tally's job. So what I have been up to, I did a bit of cleaning. It's still insanely messy. Honestly, when I come back, I'm going to need to spend like a week doing stuff. I'm going to try. I had a relatively early night, although it meant that I ended up getting up again in the middle of the night and not being able to go to sleep for a few hours. And I don't know. I never used to be like this. 2020 has definitely been a weird one. But yeah, recent highlights is still, even though it was a couple of days ago, the fact that I'm definitely, almost certainly don't have COVID. People in the house are respecting me and, you know, keeping distance and stuff, because I said after I get tested, I live with other people, but I would like to keep distance from everyone. Everyone's been respectful of that. So that's brilliant. And yeah, I did finish writing the rules to Invisible yesterday during the stream, and I sent it to Alex this morning. So to the designer this morning. Tally was looking for a job for months and now has the offer to work in a mobile game company as junior products manager. That is awesome. It came at a good moment, had tough days this week. And so, yeah. Yes, exactly. So sometimes I send things to people, and I sent things to a few people from the Twitch stream yesterday. I also sent it off to that vampire Fledermaus, who's someone that I don't really know, but they pop in occasionally. And it's lovely to have someone say, yeah, I'm excited to test these games. And so I also sent off that thing to Vampire Fledermaus. And so, yes, I'm looking forward to getting all sorts of feedback from people. And eventually, I think I've had a long chat with Jason yesterday. And I think, despite what I said in the morning, there's like 4 contenders for the top spot. But yeah, it's a really difficult contest. Anyway, enough with that. What are more of your recent highlights? Have you played any games? Because sadly, I did not get to play any games yesterday. But it has been infinite time since our moving heads have been next to each other. So you can talk literally about any games you have been playing. Have you played any games in 2020 at all? Please say yes.
Yeah,
Thank goodness.
So I got a game off of my shelf of opportunity last week, Lungano, and really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. So I don't know if you know Lungano. It seems relatively unknown. So I really like finding games secondhand on eBay. So like they could be like 20, 30, 40 years now. Oh, there you go. There's Lungano. That was us playing. So you work as merchants in Italy, and you're like vying for I can't think of the right word. What's the right word? You're just trying to get business off of the local families and stuff, and so you're trying to get like a little monopoly in each little district that you have separated by the river there. I really like the board game pieces because it's like you have the river and the streets going over it, so there's like 3 or 4 streets that go over the river and separate the little different districts. And I won by like twice as many points as my husband because he just didn't understand what he was doing, which was great.
Congratulations. I mean, although did that feel like really unsatisfying in the end, where you're like...
Oh, well, so it was really satisfying though, because there's a graveyard that you can put in a district that makes people have minus points. So there was like 2 or 3 times that he used this graveyard against me. So he really thought he was winning. He was really certain he was winning because he kept finding these things and using them against me, but he wasn't actually going and getting his own points properly at the same time. But we tend to have that kind of learning curve in our relationship with games because I think I'm better at just picking up a game and trying to work out a strategy straight away, and I think he needs to play a few times before he goes, oh, that's how you win, all right then. And then we like start like this, and then we get a bit more like that towards the although we tried to do a board game tournament in our house a few years ago, and it started with Munchkin Bites, and we found out that my husband Darren has never won a game of Munchkin Bites, and we never noticed that he'd never won a game really until we started tallying it, and then we were like, right, we're going to stop because it's making it less fun.
So Munchkin Bites, is that quite different from Munchkin?
No, it's just rethemed. It's just a Halloween version, so you're like werewolves and vampires.
So it's like one of the many, like, I don't know what they're called, like the Munchkin Flux. Western and Munchkin.
Oh yeah, so like Flux and Munchkin and a few other games like that are just kind of, there's a few tiny changes in what they do, but mostly they're just reskinned versions of the game. Oh, you found lots of Lungano stuff. Cool.
Well, I found those 3 that I am allowed to commercially share, and so thank you to those people who uploaded them on Board Game Geek and made them available to me, because these days I'm always making sure to do the licenses, what is commercially and stuff available. Eric, in terms of recent highlights, runs, well, this is a low light, but runs Juniper Green Board Gamers Club for Kids and Families in Edinburgh, but we're not able to meet at the moment, which is sad. But I do know, I hope this is true to say, Eric, that are you still meeting up virtually with other adults, in a weekly time? And Alex says, going back to Munchkin Bites, as long as it's all in good spirits.
Oh yeah, definitely.
As long as people are having fun.
Yeah, we're way more about playing games together than who actually wins. Like, especially with short games, we'll just play like 3 or 4 games in a row and occasionally can't remember who won the most out of them. It's just about playing games and interacting and being together. So yeah.
And so let's go to ask about a brilliant thing. What's the little thing which is brilliant?
So my brilliant thing is my cat. And I really wanted to have him here and show you, but he's just too codependent. He can't be in the room with me. It's a whole thing. But he's my mascot and my logo for Ashkin Games. My logo is actually from a graphic that I made from a photo of him, because that's what he does whenever we play games. He bats the things off the board. A really lovely video of us playing Takanoko with Captain's Tail knocking off the bits of bamboo, and then my husband putting them back and then knocking them off. It's a full 30 seconds to a minute of knocking them down, putting them back, knocking them down, putting them back. And yeah, there he is. because Attican Games was 1 year old 2 weeks ago, I think. But yeah, he's also my therapy cat. Whenever I'm not feeling well, he just does not leave me alone at all. So you do that thing when you're not well and the cat's on you, where you're like really enjoying cozy cat cuddles, but you know, you have to go get a glass of water or go to the toilet, or you know, all the natural things we have to do in the world. And you get up, and most of the time that means they go find somewhere else to lie, or they take your spot. That's a very cat thing. Take your spot. Captain will sit on the side and wait for me to come back and sit down, and then he'll get back on top of me exactly how he was when I'm not well. So like he can.
Oh, so Captain actually goes off the chair?
So he'll get off me and then wait for me to come back and then get immediately back on me. So I'm his cat bed is how I feel. But he's very sweet and he makes me feel better when I'm not feeling well. So.
Oh, that's lovely. And if we are to expand this to just general, you know, animal companions, because, you know, as amazing as your cats may be, we can't all share the brilliance of your cats. You know, there's not enough captains.
Cats are a brilliant thing, or not even cats, just companion animals. Yeah,
like, can we just kind of say animal companions? Like, because for sure there's some conversation that you can only get with a human, but there's so much that you can get from an animal, and you know, it's something it's a little bit different, and you get, if you're kind of actually trying to empathize with this animal, it's almost like a different point of view, if you know what I mean. It's like, okay, I see what you're doing there. Okay, well, in your life, you want to just wander over this board game and knock the pieces over. Okay, I'm starting to understand where the world is. Okay, you're just wanting to swing your trunk and knock down trees. Okay, I'm getting, okay, I'm trying to learn what you're all about. Let's appreciate each other. And you kind of learn from each other. And then, yeah, like hugs and cuddles, I think, are a cross-species thing, that we can appreciate this. And I've gotten to the stage where someone that I know quite well, that I was visiting maybe twice a week and lived alone, pretty much cat sitting for the past like 4 or 5 months. And there were these 2 lovely cats. And one of them is almost like a dog in cat form, if you know what I mean, will immediately bounce over to you and be like, I want all the attention, I want all the cuddles. Like, never gets on your lap or anything, but just, I want everything. And then goes belly up on the floor and wants all the attention. And then the other one is more cat-like, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But with Oscar, I'm just kind of cuddling them, and then they're licking me because apparently I'm not quite clean enough at 11:30 at night. I don't know.
It's a really nice thing when they actually try and groom you, because it means they've like properly accepted you, kind of thing. It's really nice. But yeah.
And having that love and affection and trust from another species. And so I think, yeah, in the comments, do you have an animal companion? Do you think that animal companions are, well, if you don't like animal companions, let us, you know, enjoy that for the moment. But if you do, why do you think animal companions are brilliant? And, you know, we can be a little bit more negative in the next section, which is the people's favorite, which is the questionably quick questions. Now, I always start off with one question, which is, Nikita, where exactly are you? And what time is it?
Do you mean exactly in the UK or exactly in my house? I'm in Hampshire. I'm currently in my husband's office. And
what time is it?
What time is it? 10:24 exactly.
Because we are both UK time.
Yep, that's us. We're great in the UK.
And representing 2 bunnies, cleverer than you'd think. One can fetch balls. And Sates has a crocodile who is lovely, always smiling. Do you have any other animal companions?
Not that live with me, but I feel very much like my mum's dog and my dad's cat are still kind of part of my little animal family, as it were.
You visit them regularly then?
Pre-2020, yeah. Haven't seen them.
When was the last? Oh, sorry, I was going to ask. When was the last time you visited?
So it would have been last Christmas. So I haven't seen my family in so long, which is starting to get to me a little bit. But I keep in contact, so it's okay.
Last Christmas you visited them, and now all you've got is a pencil or pen to maybe write a message to them, but maybe you'll use some email or WhatsApp or video chats, I don't know.
Yeah, some combination of all of them.
Okay. And so, what is a game you love?
Dead of Winter. Really love Dead of Winter. In questionably quick questions, am I supposed to just answer very quickly, or do you want an elongated answer?
It doesn't really matter. It's all questionable. Why? It's interesting with Dead of Winter because I was actually talking about semi-cooperative games to some people on Twitter, and why do you think that it works for you? Because some people are like, oh, you can get into this situation where you aren't going to do your personal goals and then you just want to tank the game.
Well, as well with Dead of Winter, though, you can play it without personal goals and without like the betrayer. So I think the first time I ever played it, we played it with quite simple rules, and it was just we're working towards this goal. And I really like that conversation around strategy of like, oh, well, if we do this and then we do this, we can kind of do this. And it's good when everyone gets involved in that. I have played it with people who don't understand cooperation in any form. But that's just a new challenge in life. That's fine. But yeah, so I've played it with lots of different.
Oh, you actually just play it as a pure co-op?
Oh, we did for the first time I played it, and then we were like, oh, now let's try this, now let's try that. So I quite enjoy the extra level of, oh, actually I've got my own goal, or actually there might be a betrayer and things like that. But I think for the first time you play it, especially if you've not played a co-op game before, I think it was my first co-op game. I can't remember. I think it was. So it's nice to kind of have that first experience of like, oh, we're going to work together towards a goal if you've not had that before.
Or it might just be a bit more complex than what you're used to. I mean, with McCall and Chris, we played Dead of Winter, but you know, yes, they've played Pandemic Legacy Season 1, which builds up to be pretty complex by the end, but that's kind of different because you start off with a simple game and then you add more and more to it. Whereas I think what you say is 100% true, that in retrospect, I think it was Martina, but this was back in the day. This was literally over a year ago. I think it was, anyway, March. It was before March, which was kind of when everything went to this horrible place that we are now.
Yeah.
But yes, so having omitted those particular personal goals could make for a great game while still capturing a smidgen of that anxiety and, oh, I'm going to beat the zombies, but how are we going to work together?
Yeah.
And we've got good representation in the chat, basically German and UK. I say we've got good representation, but it's basically just two countries. So next question, podcasts or books?
By myself, books. With my husband, we listen to lots of podcasts. But they're like comedy ones from people like James Acaster and stuff like that.
Oh man, I am so sorry, Dutch Yoda. I completely forgot about the Netherlands. It was purely because you hadn't piped up for... I'm digging myself into a hole. Anyway, Yoda is kind of skimming around and using the Force to kind of stay hidden. Anyway, trying to dig myself out of that hole. So you enjoy podcasts, comedy podcasts with your husband. What was one you can recommend to us?
So we listen to what is it called? I think it's called The Dream Restaurant with Ed Gamble and James Acaster, and they have a new person on each episode who tells them their dream starter, main course, and dessert, and like entire meal. And James Acaster pretends to be a genie who can get them exactly what they want, and they go off on tangents and they have lots of ramble, and it's usually relatively well-known UK and American recently comedians, and I really like stand-up comedy, so it's quite nice to hear like a little bit extra from them.
So that's called Dream.
I think it's Dream Restaurant.
Dream Restaurants. Okay, I'll do a wee search for that later.
Yeah,
Dream Restaurant.
I'm sure if you type either of their names and podcast, you'd find it.
And how many books do you get through in a typical month, would you say?
So I'm one of those people, I go through times where all I want to do is sit and read, and other times where I'll read a bit here and there. So I can have months where I'll go through like 3 or 4 books. And at the moment, a friend got me the Witcher series for my birthday last year, which I didn't actually get for quite a while because of COVID. So I've been reading the first of the Witcher books for about 2 months, because I only like read like a chapter and then get back to something else and dip and dive out of it.
That's totally fair, and however you want to enjoy it, there's no wrong way to have fun.
Yeah.
So what was the first game you remember playing? Or if you're not sure, give us a list of the few games that you remember from your childhood. So
like when I was maybe from about 8 to 14, like as a family, we played obviously Monopoly, because every family has to play Monopoly at some point to find out how much they hate each other. I don't mean that at all, but it's how you're going to find discord within your family if you ever are. But we used to play a lot of card games, like Rummy and Cheat, and there's one with a questionable name that I won't say because I haven't asked you whether I can swear or not yet.
I allow 1 swear per the entire show, and I think I might have used it, so I'm really sorry.
Yeah, I'm definitely not gonna. If I only get 1 swear as well, I'm not using it on a game name from when I was 10. But yeah, and so we used to. In terms of actual solid board games, I think we only really had Monopoly when I was young. But then I went to college and did IT, and then uni and did computer science. So I've always surrounded myself with a good amount of nerds. So I feel like I don't really know when I started properly board gaming, because it was just always a way to just spend time with friends. So, so yeah, I can't find a specific time when that
makes sense. And Alex has been binging stand-up freestyle rapper Chris Turner on YouTube. And it's interesting to me when you get people with completely the same name, but completely different. And so Chris Turner, of course, lovely Londoner, plays a lot of board games. I could not imagine them being a rapper or a stand-up comedian. Having said that, I've never asked Chris to try rapping or doing stand-up comedy. I've never, but I know, I'm fairly sure that's not the profession. But how amazing would that be if it was actually the same person? Anyway, so even Chris Turner,
just put him on the spot one day and say, "Do you rap for us now?" Just so we can find out.
Yeah, you got to rap right now, or I am not leaving this bar until you rap for us. Oh, Chris Turner, you go on down.
And it's become a rap battle already. It's brilliant.
Chris Turner, the other Chris Turner, or it might be the same Chris Turner, we don't know, takes 5 subjects from the audience and does a usually amazing and funny freestyle about it. That sounds amazing. And we've got a few questions from the audience. I do always want to make it clear, throw in your questionably quick questions as you wish. Alex asks, a quick callback, what is your dream meal?
Oh, I don't know. It'd have salmon in it. I really love fresh salmon.
Fresh salmon, not smoked salmon.
I love smoked salmon, but like really fresh salmon fried up is just amazing, and like just barely all the way cooked.
Yeah, you don't want to overcook your stuff, whether it's veg, whether it's flesh. You know, you want to kind of maybe sear it, do the minimum that you can, and enjoy what it is to some degree. Although, you know, I'm not denigrating the fact that sometimes slow cooking something and getting the heat all the way through does make a big difference.
Definitely.
But, yeah.
So my dad would agree with you on that. So he does lots.
Are you someone who enjoys sashimi?
I love sashimi. So yeah, I'll eat salmon in all of its forms, and the other like tuna and stuff that comes as nice as sashimi. But yeah, I have no idea what else would be in my dream meal. Except
have you had hot smoked salmon?
I don't know.
So cold smoked salmon is like what you'd normally get. Like in the packs, it's fairly fresh, whereas hot smoked salmon, it's generally a bit more smoky, if you know what I mean. Okay. And it's kind of actually cooking it at the same time. Whereas, so it's almost like it's smoked and cooked. It's a bit weird. I used to work for a place I'm not going to share its name because I don't want to give them any, where I was the fishmonger and butcher. I cut up dead animals for money. That was what I used to do. And then I used to put prawns, and I used to get paid for putting prawns into the hot smoker, sometimes salmon, sometimes, you know, mixing up things, making a bit of different sauces and putting things out, and sometimes cooking things and letting other people eat it. And then I, you know, did some samples, and we were encouraged to eat things at work. But when I dared to take something that I was told to throw away and take it home, I was fired for that, and I'm still sore about it.
Wow.
Wow, it's 6.5 years later.
Yeah, definitely don't mention them or mention them in a bad way. But no, that seems strange. Like, so I really hate waste, especially with food. So that would annoy the hell out of me. But also I feel like from your description, we need to find a friend who currently works as a fishmonger and can do all those things for us. That sounds
amazing. Lots of love to say. It sounds agonizing. Eyeing the wrong padded envelopes again. Still can't mailing out the Christmas cards. The wrong size. That is annoying. I understand the irritation when you've got something and it's just a smidge too small. I assume that's what's happening. Eric's got a big shout out for Onigiri. Hello to Nicholas. It's lovely to see you. And my robot is saying, yeah, but I'm going to ask this. Games are brilliant because, and I thought, okay, communication of ideas, like you can share, spread things, whether it's Landlord's Game or Seize the Power or Spirit's Island or This War of Mine, maybe, or Freedom, like maybe you're trying to communicate something about like bringing people together, sure, around a table, but around a screen, and also having these certain rules in a baffling world, and also being a safe space to learn, exercising our minds. Can you think of any other reasons that games are brilliant?
I think that anything else I think of would just be subdivisions of what's already been said, because they're quite broad terms on kind of like bringing folks together. And like, I think actually it's a brilliant way for people that haven't met before to become friends. Because I've sat down at games tables with people I've never ever met before. So it's one thing to like get your friends together and play a game, but sitting down with someone you've never met before and playing a game is a brilliant way of like getting to know them. And I genuinely have sat down at a game table and within an hour of playing a game with someone feel like that's my new friend, that's my buddy now. So yeah, but it still kind of comes under the bringing folk together.
No, I like that as a subdivision, but you know, making new friends, it's not just the old folk, pardon me, but also new folk, and also, as you say, learning, not just about learning what you're doing and learning about yourself and learning about the world, but also learning about other people. And Eric's got a lovely one, which is, of course, yeah, mental health. It can raise our spirits. And I realized I didn't even put this, like games can make us laugh. Games make us feel emotions. And it's just now that I'm like, wow, that's it feels like such an obvious thing that nowhere did was written that so yep. What made you attracted to first making your own board game, would you say?
So my first game was genuinely supposed to be my husband's Christmas present. So he's a triathlete, or he does triathlons. He probably wouldn't call himself a triathlete, but he does triathlons. And I had an idea for a game because we had a weekend where he did a triathlon on Saturday, and I managed to persuade him and our friend that because that was UKGE weekend, and because we had to drive halfway to Birmingham to get to this triathlon anyway, we might as well just find an Airbnb for the Saturday and go to UKGE on the Sunday. And it was walking around UKGE that I was like, basically about 80% of the gameplay for Try to Win kind of popped into my head. And I discussed it with both of them, and they were like, that's brilliant, you should do it. And because they're like the two people I love most in the world, and they love me to some degree back, I was like, yeah, you're very biased. You're going to love anything I put together. But I decided for my husband's Christmas present, I'd prototype it and give it to him for Christmas. And I tried to be sneaky, and I was just like, oh, I'm having a go at doing this thing. It was just pieces of paper cut into cards to start with. Let's just play it and see if it works. And I got him to play test it so that I could try and make it a game that he would like. And then it was supposed to be a surprise that happened on Christmas Day. But like literally game one of it, he was like, so why don't you just do this? Like, you know, just make this work and that can be your job. And so yeah, he turned it around on me, and then I kind of just had to confess to him that this is what I was trying to do for Christmas. And he was like, yeah, I reckon we could get to this stage by Christmas. And then the following February was
So it sounds like you started off thinking, okay, I'm just going to do this thing as a gift, as a declaration of love. And it was your husband who eventually was like, okay, why don't we do this as a proper full-time thing, almost like a full-time ambition?
Yeah, because I was always already working for myself as a graphic designer, so it wasn't too big a step to then say, okay, I'll design for, oh, that's the logo I did for my mum. So my mum makes gemstone jewelry, and so yeah, this is the graphic design that I used to do for people, just people's logos and stuff, and what's on Instagram is what I was allowed to show the world, basically. But yeah, so I decided I'd start doing it for me instead of for other people, and now all the graphic design and all of the illustration for my games.
That makes a lot of sense. And so was that your first ever convention?
That was my first ever big one, and certainly my first ever one that's like 100% focus on board games. So I've been to like Comic-Con and lots of other ones that are gaming, but also very mixed with comics and video gaming as well. So I think UKGE was my first like 100% focused on board games type convention. And then this year I went to my first convention as a designer. Luckily, I went to HandyCon, which is in February. So it's a very small one, but that was exciting. And I was really looking forward to going to UKGE as a designer for the first time. And I didn't feel like I could afford to really have a stand or anything yet. But I'd booked like a test table from Alan Hortis and stuff like that. But next year, hopefully there will be conventions. And it feels like there's just so many people that I have met now. Like for UKGE this year, I probably had a list of 5 or 6 people that I'd met on Twitter that would be nice to meet. And now I think that list is probably 20, 30 people, maybe more. So it will be exciting. I'm all about trying to find silver linings whenever something gets me down. So the idea that the first time I go with a stand, maybe, or whatever, I might have 3 or 4 games is quite exciting, rather than just after Try to Win.
Yeah, it's been a crazy time, and for sure, what a way to enter the hobby with this 20,000 people convention with giant halls and pretty full on. what would you say is your favorite convention that you've been to now?
So I think so it's UKG for the atmosphere, and just you can get bogged down by all the stuff that's there, and it's really exciting, and there's so many like indie designers and people with their first games out in places and stuff like that, so that's really exciting. But HandyCon's the first one I went to as a designer and feeling like I was there in kind of a professional capacity, so that's got a little like place in my heart now. So yeah, it's those two for two different reasons.
Yeah, it's difficult sometimes to compare the giant things with the tiny things.
Yeah.
I think that for sure, emotionally, I will adore, smaller things like the January convention. There's one in Conway. I don't know if you've ever been in Conway.
No.
But it's a lovely atmosphere, and it's just 50 people, where the joy of it is that by the end of it, you're going to have gotten to know everyone else pretty much, because, yeah, you can get to know that few people over a weekend. I'm not going to say you'll literally have played games with everyone, but if you are the kind of person who likes meeting people and likes learning about people and likes learning names, then, yeah, you could stand a chance of playing games with like a good chunk of them, and by the end it'll feel like, oh, there's all these lovely people, and then I'm going to see them next year, hopefully. And I've been there, I want to say 3 times. I would 100% go this year if it were next year, if it were safe to do so. I was kind of going to say, like, yeah, I just cannot see any way for it to possibly run at all without being a ridiculously bad thing for the general populace. But when it comes down to it, I mean, yes, Cannes is something that I might come back for one day, but like, let's say I was living on a different continent, as might happen, I feel like UK Games Expo is the one that I'd be like, okay, that's the one I'm coming back for. And yes, part of that is from a financial exposure point of view of, hey, I'm going to see all these people, and I get to share my game with a bunch of people. And if I'm a designer, then I get to make meetings with people. Like someone from Hasbro had a meeting arranged for UK Games Expo 2020, but that didn't happen for obvious reasons. And I don't like playtesting online, is the simple truth. It's a personal thing, but yeah, but there's also a joy of it, for me at least, the energy, the hustle and bustle, seeing everyone being around. I mean, if you had to pick just one, which one would you go for?
UKGE, it would be. It's so wonderful to be around so many people that love the same thing. And as much as I enjoyed HandyCon, it's a very different, because it's so much smaller and it's just in a hotel. And mostly people are there to play new games. There isn't as much of the kind of, I want to talk to you about my game, and I want to meet new people and stuff like that. And I think more people are just going there who probably don't have many people that at home that they can play with, and they're there to play new games. Not necessarily play test new games, just playing games. Whereas UKG, there's just such a big mix of everything. So you can find anything that you'll if you want to go there just to play new games, you can do that. If you want to go there to meet designers, which I really enjoy, you can do that. And yeah, so if I had to pick one, it would definitely be that, just because I have a load of new friends that I've never met that I get to meet there next time, hopefully.
Eric suggests you go to Tabletop Scotland, based in Perth, which will hopefully be able to run next year in August. Eric was hoping to go to UKG for the first time too, and Yoda was planning to go to Aircon in 2020, I assume, but the trip got cancelled because of COVID. I have actually sent out a wee request form because I missed the email about for the previous exhibitors to sign up, so hopefully I won't be too late, fingers crossed. But it's a weird, can this really happen? I understand they've put it back to April. So are you someone who looks forwards into the future? Because I can be someone who really stresses about the future, do you know what I mean? Especially when it's like, oh my God, what, I need some certainty in my life, I feel. And this is a problematic kind of, let's say, year for me. But how do you cope with uncertainty of the future?
I'm trying to live as much in the present as I can, and I'm the same. I like to have things planned out. I like to organize, and I like to know what's happening. So I think in that way, I'm trying to do as much as I know I can, even if 2021 ends up exactly like 2020. So I'm focusing on the Kickstarters that I'll do because I can do them from home, and I'm focusing on the things that I can do from home. If there's another year like this, I might look into some of the virtual conventions, but they didn't really spark joy with me this year. Like there was nothing particular about being part of a virtual convention that I think it would have been too much stress for me to try and deal with this year on top of everything else. So I'm trying to plan the things that I can.
So when you say they didn't spark joy, do you mean you attended one and were like, okay, that's not for me, or just the idea of it didn't spark joy?
I think the first couple that I saw about, I looked at kind of what they had together as like a poster or promo for it, and it was a lot more kind of talks from people, which is nice and stuff like that. But I think I go there for the atmosphere and for meeting new people. And if you're one of 50 people attending a talk from someone, which are still things that happen at UKG and are still good as part of a day, but otherwise it seems like things that, you know, might be recorded and watched at any time, and it didn't feel like a convention as much for me. It just felt like lots of streams on one day or one weekend, which as I say, I'd be happy. I think I had enough stress trying to get a game out during COVID and various other things this month that I didn't want to give myself something else to try and get involved with. But I might try for 2021 if physical conventions still can't go ahead. I'd really love to go to Gweeple Fest because I really like those guys, and they're not too far away from where I live, so that's a nice kind of Gweeple. So they're around Oxfordshire way, and they're just a really nice bunch of guys who do like regular gaming stuff, but once a year they have it as a little thing. But I've not been there yet because I was going to go this year and then I couldn't. I think they're in May next year, and they asked me to come along, which is really nice. It's the first people that have actually said, do you want to come? You know, rather than me being like, can I come? It's like, do you want to come? And I explained to them that my health isn't the best at the best of times, so I will 100% go to absolutely everything I can when I feel like the world is safe. And at the moment, I don't really feel that way.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. If I may interject with my current thoughts, because they're always, I feel like Twitch for me is kind of a microcosm of virtual conventions in a way. You could just watch a thing. Tabletop Gaming Live tried to do that with their convention, where it was, we're going to release a bunch of videos at specific times during the day. Where's the togetherness? Where's the convening? At least with UK Games Expo, when I gave a talk on their main stage, there were a bunch of people watching, and people asked me questions and I responded. It was a bit more focused than this. I had notes and I stuck to them. It was a lot that I went through over the course of an hour, like basically in the time that we've already spent just asking these questionably quick questions and exploring who you are. And sometimes that's what you want, and it feels a bit more like you're there together. Me being in the audience for Dominic Krapachet's, designer of Say Anything and Wits and Wagers, was such an amazing thing for me. Because, hey, it wasn't just me watching Dominic say a bunch of things. It was me actually typing messages and Dominic saying with their mouth, the answers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you feel, I'm not going to say I feel like I'm there. Of course, if I could go up, and I don't know if Dominic does hugs, but at this point, I feel like we've had enough interaction that if we saw each other, maybe Dominic could be up for a hug. But that's also part of what the internet's done. It has brought people together in a way. At the same time, look at Essenspiel, look at the actual exhibitors parts of UK Games Expo, where it's just a bunch of people doing their own thing. And yes, on my Twitch stream at like 10 a.m. on Sunday after UK Games Expo, whereas, okay, the state of Bez, I'm going to talk about this, and I had a bunch of people coming in. Was that because of the topic, or was that because it was a UK Games Expo thing? I don't know. But it never felt like I was connected to the other exhibitors. That never happened. I never felt like, oh, I'm having a conversation with this person who's next door to me. I'm able to have this morning wander and check out everyone. I'm able to look around the day before and have a bit of time as an exhibitor to go around. I'm not going to say that everyone's at their stand and everyone's lovely, but most people are lovely and most people are amenable to a bit of a quick chat to say hello and get to know your face and, hey, what are you up to? Oh, let me check that out. That looks lovely. What's going on here? And I never had that sense of browsing, of wandering, of convening, of real connection to everyone who's in this massive space. It felt like little bubbles. Now, Twitch has been quite good in some ways at that, I think. And I really appreciate the fact that even as a viewer, I can be watching and people respond to me and I'll be watching maybe something else. I'll put them on at different volumes or I might, but, and yeah, I guess if I wanted to blow my own trumpet, I should actually mention now, where's my banner? Bez and Friends Game Day will return January the 9th, which is an idea that I had with, okay, rather than having a big thing, it's going to be maybe 10 people. And that's not great for sales. I didn't expect any sales. It was more a thing of, hey, let's get people together. Let's there be literally only two options at any one time. Either playing this game or watching the stream, and that's it. And so if you're playing the games, then here's 5 games that I really love and really appreciates everyone who made them and get people to come on board. And it's feels more like a little convention, almost inspired by Frank West, who made City of Kings and Isle of Cats, because Frank West did a small convention that's no longer running in Bristol, which was the City of Games convention, where it was, hey, we only have 3 exhibitors, but I get to choose who they are. And I was one of them. ITB was one year, and Frank's mate was one the other year. And there was always Paul Grogan there, and there was a local shop, and it was literally just 4 exhibitors and a whole bunch of games. And it feels a lot more curated. But yeah, Xate's feeling called out. But yeah, sorry, I didn't really have any question. I just had I guess I'm just saying, hey, maybe I can tempt you to come to my convention on the January the 9th, if, yeah. But
I totally want to come along. That could be my first virtual convention.
Oh, awesome. Yes. You could be like the guest of honor. You don't get to be a VIP because you're not coming and showing off your game, but you'll be an attendee of honor. Although that kind of makes everyone else kind of feel bad. Oh, I want everyone to be an attendee of honor.
You put a little star next to my name that's just like brand new on virtual conventioner. Treat with care. Don't be too mean. She's new to all this. But I can see how, as well, for you, like a virtual convention might not seem special because you do this every day and you're brilliant at it. And so if someone asked you to do it on a weekend when you're already going to do it, like if it was a virtual convention today, you'd still just be doing what you're doing, and it's brilliant.
Well, if I were to actually try and do a virtual convention, like the one virtual convention I actually tried to do was UK Games Expo, where I didn't do anything on the Friday, I will admit that. On Saturday, I started off with my talk for UK Games Expo, which was on their main stage. And because it was on their stage rather than my Twitch, and because it was, I can't remember what I talked about. So I talked about like, it was something to do with making games or, anyway, I honestly can't remember. I wrote some notes somewhere. But the point is that, yes, I gave a good talk, and it was obviously going to be a wee bit different from my typical blether. And I don't know, maybe if I do a monthly thing where I say, okay, on this day, maybe on the 10th of January, I will do a really dedicated talk. I'm going to write some notes. I'm going to take it seriously, and I'm going to share everything that I know on the 10th of January. I'm not going to like spend, you know, my entire time doing it, but I'll do a good talk about word games or something. I don't know. Then maybe I might get more people, but it feels like fundamentally it was because it was a convention and people were excited to watch the main stage and people were pushed towards those main stages, and there was a nice thing on the website. And I did for sure after that, I went away and then I came back, and from, I want to say 12 p.m, because back in those days I only streamed for 1 hour in the mornings, but from 12 p.m. until 8 p.m, something like that, I streamed, and it was a non-stop thing, me just showing off game after game. And, you know, hardly anyone came, and that was just a bit sad. And it's like, what's the point? I guess that's it. And then when it was Essen, I made a choice not to do it because of the cost, and I didn't see any way that it could be worth the cost, frankly. Because what's all you're paying for at that point is advertising and their promotion, and how much are they actually promoting you? If anything, it makes more sense to me to just do your own thing on a different weekend. Yoda attended some virtual conventions, but mostly for streams, not playing that much. And is that because you don't enjoy virtual games? I mean, you play, I guess playing games on streams is still playing games, if you're playing games on Loserpalooza or whatever. But yeah. Do you have anything more to respond to this non-question? Save me, Nikita. Save me from myself.
I've written down 9th of January, Bez, to remind me that I'm going to be there.
Yes. Awesome. Okay.
So the moment where I looked down and looked like I wasn't paying attention to you, I was actually making a note that I need to make sure I'm there.
Oh, same. I'm doing all sorts of note-taking. But I do want to give a quick shout-out to the people's favourite questions, and quickly want to ask, would you rather have a meeple-sized duck or a duck-sized meeple?
I want a duck-sized meeple, and I think it's actually on my list of crafting things to do. It wouldn't be wood, but it would be duck-sized meeple. What about that? Yeah, I'm going to do that at some point.
That makes sense. And finally, I want to ask, would you rather be a pigeon or a shark?
Shark. I'm not even going to give any reasons, just shark.
Nicholas says getting a place at a virtual table is really hit or miss, even more so than at a real-life convention because you can't queue. That's a fair point. There needs to be some sort of queuing system. And this is something in my mind as I go up to the 9th of January, because I want to say 2 of the games, March of Progress, and actually quite a few of the games are for 4 people or fewer. But there's a difference in that there's only so many people. I try and pick, like, hopefully there's enough going on and all the games are really good, because even those games that I have nothing to do with, Monstrosity, Scora, and March of Progress, I really admire those games, and obviously I like the designers enough that, like, yeah, come on and join. But if you have any tips or suggestions or feedback from me, please, Nicholas, let me know. Anyway, let's get into the main topic. Feel free to comment, ask questions from like follow. We are now talking about crafting. We're finally getting there. We are finally on topic. So, in case people have the sticker shock or, flashbacks of, oh my God, I thought you were going to ask more questions. Well, Nikita, quick questionable question. Crafting?
Is that just crafting with a question mark?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Sorry. I like making things. I just what do you want to know how I ended up crafting? Is that a good start?
This is amazing. Like, you're just asking all the questions for me. Yeah. So, how did you get into crafting?
So
what attracts you to it?
So I've always enjoyed making stuff, and to the point where I was trying to remember when I learnt to knit and sew, and I can't remember. It was pre 8 years old, so early enough that I don't remember. So so I've always kind of done that. I think it's because my mum crafts. My mum makes things. She makes gemstone jewelry, and she's gone through phases of making greetings cards. And she used to be a seamstress, and she's very, very talented. So that there was probably never going to be like I'd have had to be a really rebellious child to not craft at all. But she definitely taught me to knit and sew. She couldn't teach me to crochet because she's left-handed and I'm right-handed, and she couldn't work out how to do it, so I taught myself how to crochet. And so I've always kind of made stuff, and on and off through my life I've tried to sell the things I make, because it comes part and parcel with enjoying making a thing, is that you can't actually just fill your house with them. Eventually you have to try and offload them. But I most of my Christmas presents to people are usually handmade as well. So I made a ton of like plushy monster things for my nieces and nephews a couple of years ago, which they really liked. And I'm going to try and use the same kind of style to make some plushy meeples soon. So that's why I said there's going to be duck-sized meeple at some point. And it's nice for me to just have something that I'm doing. Yeah, they're like the first crafting and grafting. So they're like the first 2 dice bags that I made, I think, back in August. So I think what happened is I've always enjoyed crafting. I love making things, but I never really had a direction. I just like making loads of things. So I make jewelry, I've made fascinators, I like knitting and sewing. I've done resin stuff before, and then candle making and just about everything. But some of those things are low maintenance stuff that you can do of an evening while you're watching TV or relaxing. So that's like knitting, crochet, cross stitches I've been doing recently. So they get done a lot more. So that this is Maximilian Rhubarb, which, believe it or not, my husband asked for his birthday this year. So he now has a long list of fruits and vegetables that he wants me to make into little characters with button eyes and little mouths.
So every year that you're together, there's going to be one more for the collection. Probably.
I mean, I'm sat in his office and there's various things I've made around. So he wanted a knitted bender from Futurama one year. And he wanted it to be like a bobblehead. So the head is like this big and the body is the same size. It's just like this massive. I feel like it's around here somewhere. 1 second. There he is. Oh. So this is Bender. He does have hair, but like his body is the same size as his head, and that was the whole idea behind it, of him just being like a weird bobblehead.
So is that knitted?
That is 100% knitted, and it was before I taught myself crochet, because doing circles and stuff would be a lot easier with crochet. But I just basically knitted squares and then turned them into circles. But yeah, so there's that, and my nephew wanted me to make him a crocheted Rayman and Dark Rayman last year, so I did those. Yeah, just constantly making stuff. So I haven't started on my husband's Christmas present yet, but he wants me to crochet him his car. So we'll see how that goes. I think
Nicholas loves the rhubarb, and
Nicholas.
Alex, I don't know if you have how you've managed to preempt me showing this picture, but if you're excited by the idea of this, then here's the work in progress we can see.
Yeah, so I was trying to do like a meeple coaster, but the only problem with meeple coasters is to have the body big enough for a cup to go on it. The rest of it takes up half the surface, so they'll end up being something else. But yeah, that's it. The finished kind of. That was me just sat trying to work out how a meeple shape would work. I think I've got better ideas around it now. I think that's why I want to sew it, because I can sew better in terms of shapes and stuff. But and that
why is this plushy dice unusable?
Oh, they're entirely unusable. So I actually did a little video with my husband of him rolling the dice, and they do land on different things all the time. But obviously, so the plushy dice that I did for lots of my Kickstarter backers, these ones are because they're knitted sides and little crocheted circles. Obviously, there's a different amount of those circles on each side. So it's not weighted properly and nothing about it is proper, but it's fun. And that's the whole idea.
But you could just, as long as it's spinning in the air, whatever it lands on is still going to be random.
Yeah, so this is what my husband was doing with the D20 yesterday, is he was just throwing and catching and going, well, I've landed on this. And so that works. But he's pretty much only doing it that way. So you're not going to end up with... It's fun anyway. It's a bit of fun.
Yeah. Will Cook wants a crocheted or knitted electric drill. That sounds like almost an artistic statement. It feels like one of these things where, hey, let's make totally unusable versions of things because it's fun.
Oh yeah.
Oh, maybe you could make knitted or crocheted board game boxes. Like a version of the board game box that you really love. Like imagine if you had like Dead of Winter in really low resolution, if you know what I mean.
So I want to do some standard like
Nicholas likes the shape of the meatball, and it looks like it would be a custom meatball from a specific game.
Yeah.
We also had one question from Yoda, which I apologize we didn't get to straight away, but what is your favorite material to craft with? Is it wool?
It's probably not. Like I say, wool gets used a lot because I can sit and do it. In just sat watching TV and relaxing, but the things I really enjoy are kind of more intensive things that I would have to do in my office away from the cat, and things like I enjoyed making jewelry, but there was something I did last year which was I made little insect ornaments out of wire and beads. So I had little ladybug and a wasp that I did for my mother-in-law. So I really, really love them. And it's only in the last week that I've gone, oh, wait, I really liked making them. And now I'm focusing on board game things. What I need is a wire and bead dice and meeple and D20. So that's probably the next thing that I'm going to be spending time on. And yeah, so the first plushy dice I actually did to try and recreate my logo with Captain, and he was not having any of it. He was like, yeah, that's nice, thanks.
So Captain just enjoys pawing at the real dice.
Yeah, he's like, oh no, that's fun and squishy. I'll lie on that, but I'm not going to paw at it. I was trying to get him to do it, but someone suggested like putting catnip on it, and I was like, nope. If you put catnip on it, he will just rub his face on it constantly.
We didn't quite get to the thing of what brought you to. I guess we talked about lots of stuff, but yeah, it was your mum, your family, your upbringing, that you were exposed to it so much at a young age. And you were talking earlier about the joy of just making something, and talking about a joy of making and building something. This is your third game here. Are handmade.
Yeah, so Mini Memory Mischief is handmade from basically as soon as I realized that I could make a game to fit in a mint tin and I could buy a load of mint tins, there was nothing that was going to stop me making my own game. And I really like that it could be made at home in my office. I have plans for more mint tin games, and my plan is to always have a mint tin game I'm working on that I can make myself at home, and always have a bigger manufactured game that I'm working on, like Try to Win and Malum Hortus. So Mini Memory Mischief is my third game that I've designed 100%, as it were, but it's the second game to be published because Malum Hortus needs such a big following in order to fund that it's just ticking away in the background, and I'm working on the artwork for it here and there. But it makes sense to have these smaller projects to work on in between. I really like Mini Memory Mischief as well because it was it started as an idea from my husband. So he wanted basically all he had in his mind was that he wanted a game around stack memory. And we're both
memory.
So we're both computer scientists, and the little memory stack that Mini Memory Mischief uses is an 8-bit or 8-byte memory stack that's last in, first out, which is a load of nonsense that you don't really need to know. So it's really, really nerdy if you're a programmer and you understand that that's how memory used to work before it was a bit more sophisticated, and there's probably still stuff that uses that kind of memory, but that's why I kind of went for the pixel art because it's quite nerdy and nice, but also like the Kickstarter video and everything was all about being quite retro with it as well. And they're like Micro and Chip there are microchips from the 80s who no one has use for their memory anymore, so they play games on their memory. So there's 2 other games that will eventually come out with Micro and Chip called Random Access Memory and Peaky Pointers.
That's so nerdy.
Yeah, it's incredibly nerdy. I embrace the nerd. It's fine. I've had so many people say, "Oh my god, this reminds me of university when I learned about this type of memory and stuff like that." And I'll share this with all my programming friends. They really like it. And yeah, this is because with the mint tins, I made it. There was nothing I could do as a stretch goal, and I struggle with stretch goals because I have a base level of quality that I want in the game. So stretch goals has to be something. Basically, I did comic strips as stretch goals. So I was like, for every however amount of money, I will make another comic strip about Micro and Chip, because you genuinely can't fit anything else in the tiny mint tin that they come in. It's so tiny.
And do you think that you would want to make games if it was a case of getting these digital files and sending them to the printer and then getting that sent to a fulfillment center that sends it to the backers? Do you think you would want to do that? I mean,
so Try to Win is entirely that. Or I didn't use a fulfillment center for Try to Win. Try to Win was made in China though, and Malum Hortus. So both my Kickstarters so far, I've done the fulfillment for. And I feel pretty confident that I can do the fulfillment because I've sent out 200 parcels in a day easily. I say easily, stressfully, but easily. Whereas Malum Hortus will just be too big because it's a proper big box game. And just to fund, I would need 300 backers, and just having 300 of that size game in my office doesn't make sense. So I will be using a fulfillment center for that. But that's also why Malum Hortus is in the background, because it needs that big of an audience to build up slowly. And the artwork is really intensive. Each piece takes me like 10 to 20 hours to do. So
wow,
plodding away on it, but really enjoying it. is the point. And I think.
And how many pieces of art are there?
At the moment, about 10. On my list to do about 60 at least.
Okay.
So for each of Malum Hortus is all about
1,200 hours. Okay.
Yeah, it'll take a while. It's fine. I'm happy for it to be my big project and my big game, and I think of it as like my flagship game, and then I have all of the nice little games that I work on in between, which makes me happy.
And I just love the notion of hand making games. So just to clarify, Mini Memory Mischief, that was crafted by yourself, like put together, assembled for the backers?
Yeah, so it was assembled by me. I had the printed components made at a professional printer because they can do it much better than my one can. But in terms of putting everything in the box, putting 26 individual letters in little bags for people to put on their memory stacks, and all the other little bits that are in there, all put together by me. So I've got a little video that I've made that I haven't put out yet. That's just like me making them in speed. It's like made up 1200% fast or something, just to watch like lots of little stack of tins just going up slowly. But I really enjoyed it. I mean, some people were like, "Oh, well, that must be awful having to do all that." I'm like, "What? I made like 400 games in 2 or 3 days," and then sadly, I really wanted to kind of put all the labels on and make them look beautiful, and unfortunately, the labels were the slowest thing for the printer to get out to me. So they gave me like my instruction book because I had to concertina fold every single instruction book. And they did that, and then like 2 weeks later got me the labels. So I was just kind of waiting, like everything's ready except the labels. But yeah, I was going to say I'm stupid. No, lots of people are like, "Oh, I'd hate to do that. Oh, I'd hate to do that." But I really kind of enjoy the process of putting together. I probably wouldn't enjoy it if someone employed me to work in a warehouse and do someone else's stuff. But it's something that I worked on really hard, and
it's like the final step.
And it's fulfilling orders for someone who has seen it and either likes it or wants to take a punt on it or whatever else. But that is for a person, and making something for a person has just like so much more. It just makes me happy. I was thinking about this earlier. So I've been making like I made the D20 dice, and I've been doing crocheted meeples. I was going to show you my meeples. I made a little meeple.
Nice.
My little meeple, and I'm currently doing a rainbow meeple. He's not finished, but
well, like it's David Bowie.
Yeah. Does it make you think of David Bowie?
Well, because of the little lightning bolts. Yeah,
well, that's because it's still in progress, though, and part of me really likes that and thinks that I might just kind of end them. But I'm still thinking about that. But I enjoy making them because that's the first time I'm making it, and I'm really enjoying it. But if I were to just sit and make 20 of the same thing for an event, say, I wouldn't have the same level of joy that I have making the first one the first time or making it for someone. So I made 13 of the D6 plushie dice for Kickstarter backers for Mini Memory Mischief as like a bundle. I had it as, and I had it as like an add-on item. And because I was making it for a person, at no point do I remember being bored in the making of, and that's literally like 6 squares and 21 dots made for every single one. Which,
because when you've got to Kickstarter, you know the person's name, you know where they are, and even that bits of information, it reminds you that all these people are individuals.
Yeah, and it's really nice because as well with those, I told people if I don't hear from you, you'll get the standard black and white one that I had already made for Captain. Obviously not that one, but I would make them a black and white one. But if you get in touch, I will do your favorite colors. So I only ended up making 3 black and white ones, and all the rest are in people's favorite colors. And the idea that someone has customized it and it's what they genuinely want to receive makes a massive difference.
I mean, it depends. As long as you feel like you're getting compensated and like your time is worth something, for sure. When I can't, we'll see. Yeah, sorry, I'm thinking back to the start of the year. I did a Kickstarter for Category Kill, which is still not fulfilled. And then I did a second Kickstarter. I said, look, this other Kickstarter, yes, the other game is still got to come, but the kind of time I'm going to take over this isn't going to take away from Category Kill, I don't think. I don't think it did. Whether it did or not, we can never do A/B testing without time travel. So, point is, I did a Kickstarter for these cat stickers, and I sent them out, and then there were little drawings, and in my mind, I charged something like, it was a small amount for a drawing that was ostensibly meant to take me a couple of minutes. Now, maybe I spent marginally longer than that on each one. I did kind of think, okay, I want to keep the spirits of it. I'll have like a 4-minute absolute timer. I'll aim for 2 minutes. If after 4 minutes I'm still not done, that's it. But when people started making requests, it was okay, I'll do that. But it was the management of working out that thing that's actually made me, I don't know, I don't want to say I didn't enjoy it, because for sure now I'm thinking, someone said, hey, would you be willing to do a quick drawing of my wife whose name is Kat? And I don't know if they were lying or not, but I did a really quick drawing of that. And James, my friend, said, hey, would you be willing to do a cat that's in the non-binary colors? But I think it was also how it was presented, because I hadn't said I was going to do requests. And when someone's like, oh, please do this, that felt different to someone saying, hey, would you do this? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, for the non-binary colors, what I ended up doing was like, oh, actually, that's a really fun idea. And then I did about like 10 of them and did those ones. So, I mean, my entire plan was to do them all in a batch and do very similar things, because I kind of enjoy drawing similar things over and over, because then you feel like you're getting better. And whilst at the end, it's like, oh man, I feel bad for the first person who did it. But it's kind of like okay, I did like 10 of this style of cats and 10 of this style of cats and 10 of this style of cat. You know what I mean? And just looking up pictures on the internet. And honestly, when it was, yeah, if you really want a particular type of thing, then do. So it's sounds like crafting and board game creation maybe aren't as intertwined, at least for you, as I thought. But given that you are, willing to, for sure, do a lot of offloading, but it sounds like there is still that element of you want to be the person creating it. Like myself, you have that joy of, I drew these things, I made these things. Even if someone else printed them, it's my thing, and I'm sending them off to people.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, that's why now, like, from the moment that I realized that I could do mint tins myself at home, I've now got a stupidly long list of ideas, and I will just always be making a game at home and a game with my manufacturer in China, because I have so many of both ideas, and I feel like they go really well together, in that I'm the mint tin games can probably maximum be 2 to 4 players as well, because of what you can actually fit in a mint tin and what you can actually do with that, which is an interesting thing to explore. But yeah, I already have a notebook full of ideas for manufactured games that I just couldn't do justice to on my own, and wouldn't want to. and I like that I can have both. I can do everything I want to do. I can make these big games that mass produce 1,000, get them in, send them out to people, and that's really lovely. And I can handcraft and hand make games at home. So yeah, this is how tiny Mini Memory Mischief is. That's a card from Try to Win, which is the standard poker size card with next to the box of Mini Memory Mischief.
There's
yeah,
it's definitely an interesting notion of having all this going on, but I do want to challenge the statement that it'll probably be 2 to 4, because yes, maybe you can't have components for everyone, but even within the L deck, there's games that could easily go up to, I mean, for Phrasal, I think I put 5 to 15, something like that, and that's with 48 cards.
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant about that's something to explore. And I guess what I mean by that is the ideas I've had so far that would work for me with how I want to do it have all been 2 to 4 players, because it's having these little boards that can actually fit in there and having people work around them. And if I did it as a card game and had cards that could fit in there, then obviously you can up the number of players because it's cards they're holding rather than cards they're sitting around playing. That makes sense. And so for Mini Memory Mischief, you need to be close enough to the other person to see what they're doing while you're doing what you're doing. So if that was to up the number of players, I just feel like it would detract from your enjoyment of the game, that you'd be sat so far apart from people that seeing what they're doing is hard. And at that point, I would want bigger components. So I do have an idea, once I've got my free micro and chip games out, of having a box more this size with bigger pieces so that you can all see what you're doing, and they're all bigger. But that would be like a compilation of all the games and in bigger, and once micro and chip, if micro and chip get a little following or whatever. But yeah.
I mean, this notion of how easy is it to see things from across the table, that's a really fair point. And I guess I mean, again, like, just when someone's like, oh, I've done that, and actually, again, going back to Phrasal, you don't hold the cards in your hand. You have a card, it's just that the card happens to be literally 2 letters on a card, and that's all the information you need. But having said that, it is an immensely simple game, and you would say, okay, maybe it's because it is so simple. But now actually in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, what if I wanted to make a less simple game for 20 players? I guess you'd have something like Ricochet Robots, maybe with cards that are spread across the table, but maybe each card still has a bit of information. But for sure, if you're wanting to make the sort of game where you've got your own little thing that you're in control of, and there is going to be a restriction, and nothing is impossible, but there's always balances.
Yeah, and I tend, so far with my games, I tend to get kind of a theme and most of the mechanics in my head all at once. And then I've decided from that whether I feel like it would need to be a bigger box game or could be a little minting game. And for me, the minting games as well are kind of you can stick it in your pocket and take it anywhere and pull it out at the pub and have a game of it. So it would be like sat around a little table, and it would be, for the ideas I've had so far, those ideas work better as 2 to 4 players. But yeah, when I said it's something to explore, if it jumps into my head that, you know, I could have X amount of players doing this and I try and fit into a minton, that would be really interesting. But like, for instance, Malum Hortus, like, everything I have in my head for it, and unfortunately have spent a very long time writing rules for, there's no way I could make it smaller. Like, I've thought of, just because my manufacturer said that's like 8 cubic meters of games, and Try to Win arrived, and that was very big, and that was less than 1 cubic meter. I was like, how could I make it smaller? How could I make it smaller? And everything I thought of to make it smaller made it less of the game that I wanted it, like less of the vision that's behind it. So that's why I'm quite happy for that to just be a big project that takes a long time, and that's fine. Yeah.
Do you think you could? Sorry, can you say that name a bit more slowly? Is it Madame Hauntis?
Oh, sorry, it's Malum Hortus, and it's Latin for evil garden.
Malum Hauntis.
Hortus.
Hortus. Okay.
I'm going to type it to you.
Thank you very much, and I will put it into the chats in case other people are also a little bit confused. Malum Hortus. So Malum, I guess that's where malevolence comes from.
Yeah.
And Hortus from horticulture.
Horticulture, yeah.
Do you think that there's a point at which you're thinking, okay, if it hasn't come up by this point, I will be sad? I mean, if it takes you 5 years to do, or 20 years, if you manage to do it after 20 years, you'd be thinking, oh wow, this took too long and I'm starting to resent it. Okay, I'm going to, you know what, just forget about it. Or do you think you would be keen to continue working on it in the background and build it up to be this culmination of experience?
I think exactly your second point is, I mean, if it takes 20 years, I'd probably feel like this is taking too long. But if it takes 5 or 6 years, and that's me working on it and building its audience, and I understand entirely how with Kickstarter and stuff like that, for a big game with a big budget, it needs a massive audience, and I don't have a massive audience. But hopefully I'm gradually building up my audience with my smaller games as well. So long as I have those smaller things that I'm working on in the meantime, that kind of keeps a happy balance for me, that I don't feel frustrated that Malum Hortus needs to take a longer time, and I'm still doing stuff in the meantime. Yeah, I think that worked out well. I think it was a smart decision. I very rarely will actually be like, yes, I did a good thing there. That was a very good thing. It was a smart decision for me to say, right, Malum Hortus is going to take a long time. Let's work on something smaller in the meantime. There's my Sabertooth kitty.
Just captured again.
Yeah, his little panda friend.
I had a similar shot of Oscar. I actually put up, I think, 3 shots. I'll have to put them all up on Twitter at some point, but have been quite bad, and then had to sort of think, oh, now it's going to be a real effort to decide all the best photos. But yeah, I might send up, oh, here's a big all the photos. That's and I think that we're so alike in so many ways, because the motivation to express ourselves and having that one big project, in case people don't know what I'm talking about. So the title, let me actually, so in case you aren't aware, this game is called A Game Wherein You Blether, a Scottish word meaning to talk at length at a fast rate without necessarily making very much sense. Using as many cards as possible as you spout a stream of consciousness. Trying to finish before the timer runs out. Keeping those cards you used and discarding those you did not. Before each player apportions 5 cards between the 2 bletherers to denote their relative merit. More cards being collected after each blether to make the game increasingly difficult, as the blethers get more and more furious before a final blether off, wherein the 2 players with the most cards blether and everyone else distributes their entire deck amongst the finalists to elect a people's champion. Mainly designed by Bez Behrouz Bahamani Shahruri and originally inspired by a short list of long tabletop game names. And then I'm not going to subject you, I was expecting you to actually cut me off at some point. The title continues for the entire game box.
I love it so much.
Thank you.
I really love that.
But yeah.
Like your big project at the moment then?
Not at the moment. I'm not focusing on it at the moment at all. I've not done anything on it. for over a year, but it is something that has, I want to say, about 550 pieces of artwork. So there's 300 cards in the deck, and each card has 2 pieces of artwork. I'm just going to actually show you. You get these 2 cards, which are, it's start player token and a turn marker, which has side 1 and side 2. That this is all hand drawn, and if it were a final thing, I would draw that a bit better, obviously. But currently the art, so you get 2 cut words on each side, and you also get a topic. For example, cheese or lace or cycling, and these are wee things that you do. And of these drawings were done to be literally as quick as possible. So this entire deck was made in about 9 hours. So this represents about 9 hours of concentrated work. But I want to make the drawings good enough that I can be proud of every single one, which I calculate will be about 2,000 hours of focused work. And that's quite a lot. And I figured that I need about 300 Kickstarter backers to make it at all viable economically. I'm not planning to make any money from it. I just need to not lose money from it, because there's going to be such a satisfaction of just getting that out there in the world, you know what I mean? And if I get at least 300 backers willing to pay about £30, so like I might put it like £29 or 28. But it's of that order, and it is a light party game. And a lot of people are, okay, a light party. But having said that, Rose Atkinson of Inside the Box says it is literally the best party game they've ever played. So, and some people have said, you know what, you don't need to do all the art. And someone even told me at an industry event, oh, would you like me to be your agent and represent this game for all these big companies? I could get it signed. But then they wouldn't have this absurdly long title, which is, it's like I want a game with an absurdly long title where the CE mark is as bit small as it can legally be, and the CE mark is integrated. It might say, and it has a CE mark for legal necessity, and it will be integrated. And I don't know if it'll even have a barcode, because yeah, if you want to sell my game in your shop, just for this one, I would like the whole thing, everything about it is like it has to be a very specific way for me. And part of that is like self-expression. Part of that is the joy of being like, I made something, and I can tell that your triathlon game where it's, hey, this is based on my husband being a triathlete, or at least competing in triathlons, and hey, this is my big game about the evil, sorry, let me double check how you actually pronounce it, Malum Hortus, and yeah. Oh, I think Alex is commenting on Rose's comment. Yeah, because in YouTube there's a bit of more delay than Twitch, and Alex had to go there because Twitch wasn't working for them. But yeah, anyway, I feel like a real connection. This is the kind of point where I start, oh, Saint misses you, Alex, just because you're no longer in the same vicinity and you don't get to duel each other. Anyway, let me start winding down. We've talked about quite a bit. We started off talking about crafting things. Yeah, that's what we started off talking about. And then we started talking about Nikita being Attican backwards, or the opposite, which is where you got the name of the company from. We talked about colorblind issues, about Lungarno, about the contents of a box, about Munchkin Bites, about animal companions, about Dead of Winter. We talked about Dream Restaurant. We talked about sashimi and salmon. We talked about rummy or cheat. We talked about games being brilliant because we're making friends and learning about other people and mental health and having fun. We talked a tiny bits about Gweeple and other conventions, and the fact that I've talked Nikita into coming over on the 9th of January. We talked about queues. Oh yes, digital queues, how it's difficult to queue up digitally. We talked about visual abilities to see things, about plushy dice, about self-assembling things, about the joy of creation, about having an upbringing where it's the joy of something is imparted into you and you don't want to rebel, because why would you rebel? Because, hey, this is a lovely thing to experience. We talked about having a vision of a big game that you want to get out in a particular way, even if it's going to take you many more years than you would like it to take. But ultimately, you want to do it a particular way, and you need to build up to that audience and having that patience. I mean, we didn't really talk about having the patience. That was just something I interjected just now.
It's just part of it.
Yeah, we kind of flitted around the topic. And then I started recapping what we were talking about. And then Nikita laughed at my comments where I got recursive. And then Nikita turned her head, and then I turned my head, and then I started talking about the presents, and that's not great. But it has been a lovely chat, and talking more about the main topic of, crafting things and everything that we've talked about. Is there anything else that you would really like to share with us? Anything that you would say if anyone's thinking of making a game, or thinking of crafting something, or making a plushy die, or making a tea cozy? Someone suggested making a tea cozy for a board game, like just a board game warmer.
It's a brilliant idea. I would say if anyone wants to commission me to make a crocheted drill, I will happily do it. Give it a go. I think the thing that is most important to me is to be making stuff that people love. And I actually think it's crazy that people describe my games to me as they love them. I thought, oh, it's enjoyable and a bit. Can I pay in chocolate?
See, it does actually do really good chocolate art.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go look and see that. Like, can people just get in contact with me about all the stuff they've been talking about afterwards and send me pictures? So I love talking to other people who craft as well. And one thing I haven't mentioned at all is that I do the indie tabletop newsletter once a month, which is lots of independent games designers talking about their designs, not necessarily people who are even trying to sell them. They just enjoy making games. So that's on my website. And I'd love if people take a look at it. They get regular updates on there. All of my stuff's on my Etsy. I haven't shown you any of my dice bags yet, but I make dice bags. And 2 weeks ago, I just bought a load of dice so that I could make dice bags that go with specific dice sets, which makes me really happy. And I think I say the words which makes me really happy too often when talking about crafting.
No, if it makes you really happy, embrace that. Embrace the happiness. Why not?
Yeah, and I think that's really important right now. Like we have talked about mental health and how games help with that. I think that I would have struggled a lot more this year if my husband wasn't a board gamer as well. And I've talked to a lot of people who are struggling because their gaming group they can't see. And whenever I am struggling with anything like that, crafting really helps. And I think we're all crafters in some way. There's just different things we like making. And almost all of the indie designers don't realize how much they craft when they're making their prototypes and stuff like that.
I want to ask about this photo specifically, because it looks like a composite, like a digital composite of top-down and side-on pieces. Was there some photoshopping involved?
So this was a picture from Here Be Dragons, which was on Kickstarter at the same time as Mini Memory Mischief. So we did a nice little thing where I shared theirs and they shared mine, basically. But I love that dragon meeple. But yeah, I think it's a composite that they've put together. Oh, and I really enjoyed Snaptober. which was just like, did anyone here do Snaptober? It was just like different board game things.
Sadly not.
On Instagram and Twitter. But yeah, like this was the thing I enjoyed about making the dice, is that someone was like, do you have blues and greens? And I just took pictures of like all the blue and green yarn I have, and they'd pick random their favorite colors out and stuff. And I'm starting to enjoy more and more just like board game photography and trying to make things look nice. And obviously I bought a ton of dice for Mini Memory Mischief because I let people choose the colors of dice that they wanted.
Oh, wow.
Well,
so you did a lot of customizing. That's a lot of work to take upon yourself with the assembly, that you need to actually not just go through okay, I'm doing all these things and then I'm sending them off, but actually I'm going to make sure that the correct one goes to each person.
Yeah, so I thought it'd be nice if people could choose their custom colors. So there's a version of the game that's like £8, and then if you pay £10, I'll put your own colored dice. And there's little well, another thing that's like really crafty about this game is that the letters that you're using are actually beads, and the action tokens are actually heart beads. So people got to pick what colors they wanted, which I like. I like being able to personalize things for people, but obviously it is that much more work. So I think it being slightly more expensive is fine. I didn't expect many people to do it, but it was about 50-50 between people who just wanted a game with any old color and people who wanted to choose their colors, which I think is a good precursor to the board game survival kit next month, because I have a good idea of what colors people like. Like lots of people wanted green and purple. Green and purple is a combination.
Specific, not green separately and purple separately, but green and purple together.
Green and purple together, so a green dice and a purple dice as their play kit. And I think green and purple are wonderful contrasting colors that lots of people like together, and lots of kind of nerdy comic book people, if you think about the Joker and stuff like that, with mixing purple and green, it always makes me think of the Joker and the things. But yeah, that gave me a good kind of idea of what colors people like, so that I can budget the next Kickstarter correctly.
No, it's a good shout, and people have been quickly mentioning other things that are doing. Yeah, 8, I think at the same time that I went to show the race cars, Xate mentioned the same race cars that they'd made, and Nicholas mentions that Nicholas makes war game scenery, board game elements out of plaster and wood.
Oh, that's so cool.
And yeah, I'm not sure. Sorry, Nicholas, I missed what that comment at the time, and I wasn't sure. I'm not sure what you're meaning now. But Alex says, yeah, good for colorblind players. I think that's meaning the sticker survival kit.
Yeah. I really hope that's going to be helpful for people. And I think at the end of the day, as long as I'm trying, I'm trying to make things better for people. And if people have suggestions, I'm always happy to try and integrate them if it's doable. But yeah, if someone was like, oh, well, randomly, I want all of my meeples to be stripy, or I want all of this, or I want all of that, I'd probably go, okay, I'll think about that for the future. But if someone says I'm colorblind and I struggle with this because this, then finding a solution to that is amazing, I think.
Yeah, because one's going to stop them from even being able to engage, whereas the other is a preference, for sure.
Yeah. And I think there are a lot of game boards that are like green scenery kind of things. So having green and red meeples on top of that probably isn't that great. So I said earlier, I've got a friend who's red-green colorblind, so I tend to run my artwork past him in case there's anything that you can't see. Sorry, I got caught by surprise with seeing myself. But yeah.
Are you telling me that you haven't memorized the exact order in which you posted all your...
No. But yeah, so once a month I post out the indie tabletop news. I just say that again. And what was I saying? Was I saying anything useful? I can't remember.
No, we were just wrapping up, I think. And yeah. If people, or you were talking about being surprised by yourself, and congratulations on like all the followers. It's a great community that you've managed to build around yourself, and a wonderful bunch of things. The Oracle software, says Eric, is a great to check Eddie art for various color blindness, and that's a fair point.
Thank you. I didn't know about that. I'm making another note.
And yeah, if you wish to find me, you can find me on stuffbabez.com, stuffbabez.bigcards.com to buy my stuff, twitter.com/stuffbabez. Actually, don't buy my stuff right now because I'm closing the shop for a bit, but twitter.com/stuffbybez for tweets, instagram.com/stuffbabez for pictures, twitch.tv/stuffbabez for this stream, more stuff like this, 10 a.m. UK time every day, youtube.com/c/stuffbabez for the old episodes, and stuffbabez.com/discord will redirect you to my Discord. And so please join that. If you want to check out more stuff from Nikita, then Nikita will be where do you most like to be found?
Instagram and Twitter are pretty good for messages. I get them pretty much straight away. There's a contact page on atticangames.com, and I should have given you my Etsy link, but I'm on Etsy if you type in Attican Games, or it's also on atticangames.com, I think. Yeah, that's Facebook is the worst one to do because my Facebook business page doesn't like to tell me when I get messages.
Sorry, I was just trying to find that very quickly. Here we go. Boom. There, I'll post that as well. And so etsy.com/shop/Attican that is also a thing if you wish to check that out and find all sorts of things that you could get. If you want to have sparkly plushy D6 in pink and black and white, but it's sparkly black. What's going on here? So this is quite cool.
Yeah, the yarns have like tinsel through them, so it's pink, grey, and like a really dark navy blue. So it's all twinkly.
But all of it twinkles, not just the navy blue.
Yeah, no, all of it. You can probably see better. You can see.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I'm digging that.
Yeah, so I didn't have enough of any of the colours to make a dice, so I was just like, oh, let's just make a patchwork dice, basically. I really enjoyed it. But yeah.
I want to say thank you, everyone. Thank you, Nikita. You have been amazing. Thank you, everyone in the chat who is watching this. Thank you, everyone, if you are watching this afterwards. And now, this is the moment where I would like to... I'm sorry, there's only just a couple of moments for me to ask over to you. What are you up to? You can share anything you want to. So if you're watching this after the fact, I'd like you to ponder in yourself. Take that moment. What are you looking forward to today? Are you going to eat something nice? Maybe you're going to be going somewhere. Maybe you're going to be having a nice conversation, or maybe there's an achievement that you're going to strive for. And, don't build up too high expectations, but in the chat, feel free to let us know what you're up to. Nikita, what are you up to?
I am going to finish that Rainbow Meeple and stick it up on Etsy because I'm really enjoying it. But I'm also going to open mine and my husband's anniversary present to ourselves, which is Mysterium. Not played it before, but we thought for our anniversary, because it's our 5th, which is wooden, we've made a wooden dice tower together. And then we thought we'd buy ourselves a game as well. So
that sounds lovely. I am going to, right after this stream, say a quick farewell to Nikita and then unpack from Aircon, which was in March, and pack my bags to go to Glasgow, and yes, also then try and tidy up. I mean, packing is kind of a higher priority than tidying up, but I do want to tidy up so I don't have stuff around the the communal areas, if you know what I mean, because that would be a bit rubbish for me. Anyway, my train's at like 4 o'clock, so I've got a few hours, but not loads of time. It's not like tonight. Anyway, that is what I'm up to, and no one else has shared what they are up to. So I'll just say tomorrow I am going to be, as I always do on Sundays, I will be reviewing something. I might take Friday with me. I might not. I probably won't be reviewing any games tomorrow. I might. I don't know. I'll be reviewing something. Maybe I'll review a comic. Maybe I'll review something else. I'll probably start reviewing all sorts of other stuff on Sundays. But Sunday will still be a day of reviewing stuff. And as of this Monday, it's all going to go chaotic, as I'm going to start having songs, and just I'll have access to my keyboard up there, and so I'll be playing stuff. I've not actually played the piano or the keyboard since I was in France. When was that? February? Yep, I think that was literally the last time I laid my fingers on the keyboard, but hopefully I can improvise a wee bit. That should be fun. So check out the things. I have no idea what's going on except for 24th. One of the... Check out that page. Share, spread the word. Is there time to pick someone to read, or should I just say goodbye? I do not know. Or should I just say goodbye, people? Eric is going to do housework, then watching anime, and cleaning the bunny's hutch and feeding them. Oh, hello, J Fool's Guard. It's lovely to have you here. And Sate says, let's just say goodbye, because otherwise, yep, that's a good shout. And so I will say goodbye, so I don't feel obligated to watch someone else's stream, and I'll just put on some music while I do my packing. So in that case, I want to say lots of love to everyone. You have all been wonderful, and I cannot express that enough. But hey, bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Sorry, Nikita, I didn't give you a chance. Would you like to say any final word before you continue to dance?
Thank you, everyone. You made me feel really welcome, especially you, Bez. And I really loved being on your show. Thank you.
Aw. Now we get back to sing bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. And bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye-bye.